Welcome Ashita Jain to the podcast. So today I hope you are doing very well, and we are here to talk about marital rape. You have been a very big advocate of criminalization of marital rape, and you have raised your voice against that. So please take the audience through what is actually marital rape, and what is the difference between marital rape and rape defined under Section 375, and what constitutes to be a marital rape.
First of all, thank you, Ritik, for making me a part of it. I would like to start by saying that marital rape is also known as spousal rape. It is the act of rape committed by a husband upon his wife. Here, the rapist is the husband and the victim is the wife. It is basically non consensual intercourse within a marriage. It is a sexual intercourse between a husband and the wife where the wife's consent is absent. In here, man is basically forcing himself upon his own wife. In other words, we can also say that marital rape is exposure of women to sexual perversion by the hands of none other than but her own husband. Marital rape is a form of rape. Rape, anyhow, it is a deathless shame because it shakes the women to the very core. It degrades and defiles her very soul. It is one of the inhuman acts which can ever be conducted against a woman. But in spite of this, the act is not being criminalized in our country. Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code 1860, the exception to clearly states that sexual intercourse by a man with his wife, the wife being not below the age of 15 years, is not a rape, which clearly states that marital rape is not at all considered an offense in India. This is one of the most catastrophic provision of law which need to be deleted. Marital rape is well ironed between the curtains of marriage. It is well hidden between the iron curtains of marriage. And marital rape is a more severe form of rape because in a normal rape, a victim has to live with the horrific memories of that fateful days throughout her life. But in marital rape, she has to live with the rapist, who is none other than but her own husband. She has to live in constant fear of being subjected to rape again and again, of being tortured again and again, which is one of the most gravest offenses. So I would like to say that basically the reasons for marital rape is first there is a presumption which is prevalent among our society that when a woman has consented for marriage, she has consented for sexual intercourse. This is one of the basic theory which gives birth to marital rape. And in order to stop marital rape, we need to eradicate this theory. And another thing is the prevalence of male chauvinism, which is basically means the belief that men are superior to women are subordinate to them, so that they can use them as chattels. Women are being perceived as baby making machines who do not have any right to their bodily autonomy. Rather, they have a duty to please their husband when and where he wants. A husband satisfy his lust by forcing himself upon his wife. So these two are the basic main issues by which marital rape is prevalent in our society.
So why, so why do you think there is a need of criminalizing marital rape?
See, basically, rape in any form, whether marital, non marital, it is an inexcusable act. You cannot justify rape in any form. It is a reprehensible act which need to be condemned. And we need to ameliorate the pathetic plight of the victims of marital rape so that they can be saved from the clutches of their animalistic husbands, which can only be done by the criminalization of marital rape. Because this act don't only defiles the woman, this also shakes her to the very core. And basically, marital rape, the exception of marital rape, the exception 2 of Section 375, it is also against the provisions of the Constitution. For example, let me take you through this like Article 14, which is right to equality. But the exception violates Article 14 because it makes an unreasonable classification between married women and an unmarried woman. The same act performed on an unmarried woman is considered an offense, whether and the same act performed on a married woman is not considered an offense. This classification is totally unreasonable, unfair, and arbitrary. So there is no rational reason in order to distinguish marital rape and non-marital rape. Hence, this need to be violated. And one another thing I would like to say is Article 21. Right to life and personal liberty is guaranteed by Article 21. And life, we all know, it means something more than mere animal existence. And rape is violation of right to life and personal liberty. And rape is also violation of right to sexual conduct, right to privacy, right to good health, etc., which all are species of right to life and personal liberty. Hence, and the exception is violative of both the provisions of the Constitution. And something which is violative of the provisions of Constitution need to be deleted as soon as possible.
So Ashita, in India, moreover, under Hindu law, we don't take marriage as a civil contract, but it is a sacrament for us. So don't you think if we bring state into our personal matters, it will ruin the sanctity of marriage? Moreover, it will disturb our right to privacy. And secondly, I want to quote a tweet here. During the time when Narasimha Rao committee sat and they passed a bill for the criminalization of marital rape, there was a there was an NGO who used to preserve the rights of men. They tweeted that there is nothing like marital rape. Our homes should not become police station. There will be more husband in jail than in house. So don't you think if we start criminalizing marital rape, it will ruin the whole sanctity of our marriage?
See, first of all, I would like to refute by saying that the sanctity of marriage was ruined the moment a wife was raped by his own husband. We need to understand. You've perfectly said that it is a sacred institution. But we need to understand one thing, that this institution can only thrive when both men and women are given equal rights over their bodies. And in while a woman is being married to a man, we need to disregard this notion that she is not giving her consent for sexual intercourse as well. A woman's consent is necessary each and every time before sexual intercourse, whether she's married or not. We need to understand this. A woman is not surrendering herself to her husband when she enters into the wedlock. A husband do not get a perpetual right over her body. So he can degrade her or he can violate her anyhow. And the sanctity of marriage, I would like to say that sanctity of, if this is the argument that any law is not made because it will ruin the sanctity of marriage, then why there are domestic violence laws? Then why there is law for cruelty? That is also between husband and wife, right? And this will be done in order to give justice to the marital rape victims. We are not having law, so where they can go for remedy? They cannot go anywhere to remedy. And marriage is not a license to rape one wife. Indian men need to understand this, and this can be perfectly inferred from the judgments of the apex court as well. In RIT Foundation versus Union of India, apex court has widely said that marriage do not means a woman is consenting for sexual intercourse also. Both men and women, they both have right to say no to physical relations. I would like to say it is one of the most progressive judgments ever. And another judgment is the Independent Thought versus Union of India. In this judgment, within the exception 2 of section 375, the age limit is 15. But under this judgment, the age limit has been increased to 18, which means if a man rapes his wife who is below the age of 18, then he cannot say that he has not raped her. Then he will be liable for rape. So this is also a very progressive judgment regarding marital rape. And another one is the landmark judgment of Joseph Shine versus Union of India, which clearly states that women can no longer be considered as chattel. And so in order for that, it clearly states that men cannot use their wives as sexual objects to satisfy their loves. These judgments basically show the judiciary's attitude towards this sensitive issue. And at the same time, it also shows that there is a need for immediate attention by the lawmakers towards this issue.
So Ashita, even you very rightly pointed out that we do have laws for domestic violence, we do have laws for cruelty. So according to my knowledge, even if there is a case of marital rape in our India, it will automatically be covered under Domestic Violence Act or the cruelty under Section 498 of IPC. So why do you think that we have to acknowledge marital rape on its own as an offense when we already have laws for the particular offense? Why do you think we need to have a different law for marital rape altogether, or we need to criminalize marital rape altogether?
See, first of all, the remedies available are inadequate remedies. For example, under the Domestic Violence Act, though Section 3 says that sexual abuse is a kind of domestic violence, but the remedy is civil. And again, see, cruelty and rape are two different offenses. They are differently defined in the Indian Penal Code. The punishment for cruelty is 3 years and the punishment for rape is imprisonment. And in order to establish cruelty, one has to prove that there are repeated incidents of cruelty towards one. And for rape, for example, let's just assume there are 2 or 3 incidents of marital rape. Will a woman be able to prove it? No, she cannot. If we assume that cruelty is there, if we assume this, and let me just state one basic thing. Can a murderer be given a punishment for hurt when he has committed murder? Can he? I don't think so he can, because these two are different offenses. Similarly, cruelty cannot be substituted in place of rape. Therefore, there is a need to clearly state that marital rape is an offense.
So, Ashita, is there any other country who has already criminalized marital rape in this sense, and what have been their result? What have been the precedent over there?
UK has criminalized it, Nepal has also criminalized it, and these laws are very progressive for women because here the women are given equal treatment as men. They are not being subjected as the sexual objects. They cannot be their chastity cannot be violated by their husbands anymore. These countries are way ahead than India. I just fail to understand why our country has still not criminalized such a gruesome act.
So, Ashita, let's say you are standing in front of parliament, you are going to pass the legislation. What will you do in such a way that we are able to criminalize marital rape? What do you actually want? Do you want to struck down the exception under 375, or do you want there should be a law which strictly prohibits marital rape under IPC, or do you want a proper act together which governs our personal life, which governs our family? What do you actually want here? Because according to J.S. Verma, the suggestions given by J.S. Verma committee was that mere removal of exemptional cause is not sufficient because it might lead to excessive judicial discretion. Therefore, the law must specify that marital relationship is not a defense of to crime of rape. So, what do you think here?
I perfectly agree with the Verma committee because according to the views, mere deletion of the exception will not do the necessary because it will lead to excessive judicial discretion. The one thing we need to do is firstly we need to make marital rape as an offense. We need to clearly state that a man do not have a right over his wife. A man can be subjected for rape on his wife. A sexual intercourse between a man and a woman where they both are husband and wife in the absence of women's consent is an offense. We need to state this in our laws. We need to make people aware regarding this. And another thing we need to do is we need to make amendments in the Indian Evidence Act. We need to state that there cannot be presumption of consent in the cases of rape, even when the perpetrator is none other than but the husband. See, one thing we need to understand: rape is a rape. Rapist is a rapist, no matter what the relationship the rapist has with the victim. No matter if he's her husband, if he's her friend, if he's a stranger. No matter. He has defiled the soul of the woman. He has killed her virtue. He need to be punished. That is the entire thing. And India is a progressive nation which can no longer afford to hold on to this regressive law of being a decriminalization of marital rape. especially when egalitarianism is itself guaranteed by the constitution gives us the right to equality. Still we are not making women equal to men. Still we are having distinctions between unmarried women and married women. We need to suppress these laws, and we need to grow as a nation altogether. And plus we need to start gender sensitization programs, and sex education need to be taught at the primary school levels in order to make men understand that they do not have a perpetual right over women, whether she's her wife or not. We need to understand this, that a wife has a say to no. She has a right to say no. I'm quoting this again and again because a wife's consent is immaterial to her husband. I don't know why. These ideologies that she has given her consent at the time of marriage need to be eradicated from the society as soon as possible.
So, Ashita, this is my last question to you. I understood everything you said, that we need to, as soon as possible, we need to criminalize marital rape, and this is a need of an hour. But don't you think, if today we criminalize marital rape, there will be ample of false cases, there will be ample of false reporting, because already in rape defined under Section 375, it is so difficult to prove and give evidence for rape. So don't you think it will be very difficult for a wife to produce evidences, and it will also have repercussion on the husband. There can be false reporting in the case of husband. A wife can very well report falsely against her husband. So what do you think, how can we implement this law in such a way that we have to also save the husband in the relationship, because not all husbands are beating their wives at their home. So what can we do here?
You perfectly said, as not all husbands are violating their wives. Similarly, not all women are going to report false cases. We need to understand the plight of the victims of the marital rape who do not have any remedy, who do not have any recourse to justice. In order to give them recourse, we need to implement a law. Just because of the fear that few section of women will gonna misuse it against their husbands, we cannot say that we are not making a law. If I would like to go with this notion, then I would like to ask one thing, that why there is a law for rape also? Because there are many women who can misuse the law of rape as well. Why there is a law for rape? There shouldn't be a law for rape. Just because few women will gonna misuse it, that is the reason we are not making a law. I don't think it is justified anyhow. Rape is an inexcusable offense. You cannot anyhow justify it. I'm repeating this because we need to understand that any form of rape cannot be justified. And moreover, why if there are cases, I agree that there will be cases of false accusations. But if there are cases of false accusations, then why we are having a judiciary is there only to see which cases are false, which cases are correct. Judiciary is there, and I have immense confidence in my judiciary that it will be doing justice to all the needies over there. And basically, as you've said, that proving rape is itself a big task. Similarly, rape is proved, then the way rape is proved, similarly, marital rape can also be proved. In rape, what do we see? We see the testimony of the women, which is being further corroborated by the evidences, by the circumstantial evidences, and which are further corroborated by the medical evidences. Similarly, like that, we can give evidences for the act of marital rape.
Vajita, it was very nice to have you on the podcast. I hope we can do this offline very soon. And thank you so much for coming to the podcast. And do you want to say anything?
Thank you for making me a part of it. It was surely a learning experience for me, and moreover, it was a fruitful evening. All the best for your future series.
Thank you so much.